Hello, everybody. Welcome to Hope Soaps. I am Angel, your goat soap maker, and today we are going to be making an unscented batch of goat milk and honey. And of course, before you get started in any soap making process, you want to make sure that you're gearing up for safety when you're mixing your lye solution. So, here we have the goat milk slush. I started to freeze this the morning of the soap making, and it didn't actually freeze all the way. So here it's just kind of a slush. Now, you can use goat milk unfrozen, or you can freeze it into ice cubes, and some videos that I've seen just use it as this sort of slush. So I'm making my soap purely with goat milk. I removed any of the water content that would have been in it and replaced it with goat milk. So here I'm just making sure that I'm weighing it out correctly according to the recipe that I formulated. Okay, so now that I've got my milk measured out, I'm going to go ahead and take the sodium hydroxide or lye powder that I've already weighed out prior and start mixing it together slowly. If you mix it all together, just pouring it all in, it'll scorch the milk, and that doesn't make it bad for using. It just gives it a bad smell, and that smell will eventually fade as the milk as the soap cures. Because as you can see here, even with pouring it in slowly, it still scorched it a little and discolored my milk solution, my milk lye solution here. And there is still a slight aroma along with it, but it's not as bad as it could have been. Okay, and here you can see that my starting temperature, once I finished mixing everything in, for my lye solution was 143.8 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so now I'm getting my hard oils or my butters ready to go. I've got my cocoa butter here, and the cocoa butter that I purchased comes in chunks, as you'll see here. And so the next time I get cocoa butter, I'm gonna make sure that I get it in either the little pellet form or the wafer form, because it's not as easy to manage the cocoa butter when it's in these rocks or these chunks that this came in. Now, this is good cocoa butter. I love it. It smells great, and it's worked well in my other recipes, but see that I'm having to take these chunks and put them in individually, and at some point I'm going to need to break them down. So I'm digging around in here looking for smaller pieces to try to fit to get to the weight that I want. and there's only so many small pieces inside this package. So here you can see that I'm trying to figure out how to actually break this apart so that I can get to the weight I want. And I'm using a very inefficient and ineffective tool right there. But let's not waste our cocoa butter crumbs. Let's mix those straight up in there. Off I go to get a knife. And now we're gonna try something else that's gonna work a little better. And we're just gonna cut off pieces so that I can get to my weight accurately. So I don't recommend trying to cut it like this, okay? Cocoa butter is hard, and if you try to cut it up like that, you're gonna cut yourself. So learn that lesson from me real quick. I didn't cut myself, but man, that was an iffy moment for me. Okay, so now we have our shea butter, and I really do love shea butter. It's nice, it's soft, and it does amazing things for your skin. And this is, like I said, it's way softer, way easier to cut, so it's easier to pick it up and kind of plop it into the measuring cup. And it's easier to get to the weight that you want. So, if you've never made soap before, just know that the recipes for soaps are not based on volume, even though I'm using a measuring cup. It's based on weight. So, every oil and butter has to be a certain weight. And from there, you'll add in your liquids and your lye solution, and that's what gets it to turn into actual soap bars. So here I am opening my second package of soap, opening my second package of shea butter from that package, and just kind of finishing off what I need to get to my shea butter weight. All right, so the last of my hard oils here is the coconut oil, and this is a staple for all soap makers. I think that everybody who makes soap and uses coconut oil uses this Luana coconut oil, unless they're like special ordering it from, a bulk oil supplier. But it's softer than the cocoa than the cocoa butter and the shea butter. So coconut oil I was just able to scoop out and get into this cup so that I could make sure that I was getting the right weight here. So Okay, so now that I've gotten to the right weight for my coconut oil, I'm going to take these hard oils that I have to a double boiler that I have set up, and I'm going to let them melt down to their liquid form. And now I'm getting my palm oil ready. So I know not everybody is a fan of palm oil, but I use responsibly sourced palm oil in my soap recipes. So uh, if you choose not to use palm oil in your recipes, that's fine. I'm totally okay with it because this is responsibly sourced and organic. So to me, it's not that big of a deal. And anyone who has ever used palm oil knows that you have to melt it down to liquid form and mix it up so that all of the fatty oil chains that are in there can blend together. So I melted this down so that it's nice and clear, and stirred it up so that all of the fatty oil chains can combine and be happy. And then I end up pouring it into my jar, the jar that I pulled it out of, since it's still hot, and melting down and mixing all the oils that are still sticking to the sides so that it can all be one big happy palm oil family. Okay, so my butters and my coconut oil have melted down and have become liquid. I check the temperatures here to see how long of a break I need to let this and the lye solution cool down and get my liquid oils prepared to make the actual soap. Okay, so I gave it about 30 minutes. I came back and I've already weighed out my olive oil, but I forgot to hit the record button on the camera. So that is how much olive oil is going into my soap mixture. What I'm adding now is castor oil, which I haven't bought in a large bottle yet. I've just been buying the organic and pure castor oil from the beauty section of our local Walmart, which is just fine because it's 100% pure castor oil, just like I would be buying in the larger bottles, except I'm unfortunately having to pay a premium price for it since it's marked as cosmetic at our Walmart. All right, now that I've got my castor oil weighed in on the liquid oils, I'm adding in what was left of the palm oil container that I had before, and I'm scraping out every last drop out of the cup that I melted it into. And then I'll switch over to the fresh container of palm oil. And as you'll see, I didn't really pour it in well. What I should have done was gotten a spoon or something to kind of spoon it in there, or some other better way to pour it in, but this is how I chose to do it. And I didn't really waste much of it, a few drops really, but I mean, nobody wants to waste any of their oils when they're making soap. Okay, so now I am stirring it up, making sure all the liquid oils are blending well together. And then kind of cleaning up my space here and getting ready to mix the hard oils and the liquid oils together in my main mixing bowl. Okay, so here I am adding in the liquid oils first, just making sure that I scrape every last drop out of this measuring cup. I'm being very thorough about it. And then we add in our melted hard oils. So my shea butter, my cocoa butter, and my coconut oil melted down and poured into the main mixing bowl. And of course, continuing to scrape out every last drop because that's some liquid gold right there. Okay, so now that I've got my butters and my oils mixed together, I'm going to go ahead and prep my honey to mix in with it. And what I've got in this cup is just some distilled water, and I'm putting in about 30 milliliters of honey. I put it in the microwave to make the water warm and kind of melt the honey, make it easier to pour so that it's not getting wasted by getting stuck inside the cup. And then I just pour it into the oils and scrape out the cup, and then I will mix all of it together in the bowl. And here I'm just using my stick blender to stir everything together gently. I haven't turned it on yet. It's not running. It's just mixing everything together before I go and add my lye solution in there. And so here I have my milk lye solution, and it is discolored, but like I said, it's still good to use, and as the soap cures, it'll get rid of any odor that may be lingering with the lye solution. So I make sure that I scrape out the inside of this cup also, because I definitely want to make sure that I get every last bit of that lye solution in there to help saponify this soap, or basically just turns the oils into soap through a series of chemical reactions. So I get my stick blender and I'm starting to blend everything together, getting it to emulsification, and just trying to see if I can get it to a good thin to medium trace. That way it makes it easy to pour. And it's at this point that I realized that I wanted to add kaolin clay to my recipe as well, but I didn't, so I just went on with what I had. Okay, so I finally get it to a good medium trace and scrape off my stick blender so that we're making sure that we're getting every last drop of this soap batter. And then I will get ready to pour this into my loaf mold. Okay, so we're not doing any kind of swirls or colors with this. So it's a pretty simple pour at this point. You just take what's in the bowl and dump it into your mold. Make sure that you scrape out the inside of that bowl and get every last drop. And we're just going to fill this thing up to the top. Okay, so here I'm just kind of smoothing it out. And yes, I know I spilled a little bit on the side. That's fine. At some point, I will get that cleaned off here during the smoothing process and get everything set in that mold correctly. I'm gonna bang this on the table here. That way it can allow the air bubbles to come up and out of the soap because nobody wants air pockets in their soap. And then it helps to kind of smooth it out and get all the batter into the corners and crevices of the mold. All right, now that I've got this smoothed out and settled, I'm taking my paper towel and cleaning off the edges as best as I can. That way, we're not looking messy here. Now, I wanted to have a design on top, but I didn't want to get too terribly fancy and sculpt the top of it like some soaps. So I just took a chopstick and did some swirls on top, and you'll see how that turns out when we get to the cutting. And voila, just like that, we have jumped ahead in time 2 days. And as I'm pointing out here on the top, there was some cracking on the top of the soap, but that's because I soaped at too high of a temperature. Also, when you add things like honey or purees or anything with sugars into your soap, it automatically increases the heat that from the saponification process. So we had the sugars from the honey and the sugars from the milk working together in there, and they cause it to overheat a little bit, even though I didn't even cover the top of it. And there was some slight cracking on top, but as you can see, the top still looks really nice. I'm basically just cleaning off any excess on the sides there, any of the little flakes, but the top's not super fancy looking, but it does look nice. So that's what I was aiming for. So on my table here, I have it set up to cut these soap bars. You'll notice that I have marked off on my paper there 1 inch markings. That way it makes it easier for me to see where I'm cutting. And then I went ahead and used the ruler as a spacer to kind of help set my cutter here and make the first cut. And this actually turned out really well. It's very creamy looking. It cut really nicely, and it did gel. So that's great. We like a gel phase. It helps basically if I had colors in the bar, it would help to make those colors more vibrant. Um, but I believe it also helps with the hardening of the bar, but I could be wrong. Fellow soapers out there, feel free to correct me in the comments. But uh, yeah, so I'm just going to go ahead and keep cutting through this. And afterwards, we'll do a little lather test on some of the leftovers from the soap. So basically, I took the leftovers from the soap, went to my sink, and just wanted to show you what the lather looked like. It looks really great and stable and fabulous. So definitely a win. If you want to see some of my other soap recipes that I've made, check out one of these other videos, and we'll see you in the next one.